Okay, so today we're going to be reviewing the other paper. It's called Let Me Speak Freely, a study on the impact of format restrictions on performance of large language models. This is by the National Taiwan University and Appier Research, AI Research. Let's go find them out. This isn't really kind of like, it's not really based on the idea of what's it called, the to really critique the paper. It's more about just let's see what we learn from it and what we kind of gain out of it, kind of like a paper read through. Okay, let's start. So, introduction. I think we can make this a bit smaller. Rate per hour for the first 40 hours she works is $10. She also receives an overpay of 1.2 times her regular hourly wage if she works for 45 hours of her week. What's the earnings, right? So if you do a standard prompt, this thing, yeah. So first of all, they start off by showing like kind of like the mistake that the structured output makes, right? So this kind of, it seems like a pretty like good, like a strong introduction, right? And I forgot to read the abstract actually. So they basically say that like we observe like a significant decline in the LLM's reasoning abilities under like format restrictions, right? Now, one of the things I would think of is like when we look at GPT 3.5, right, versus GPT 4.5. I don't know if I can open up the comparison, but you'll see that the instruction set has been improved a lot. So we essentially like, I don't know, almost like 7 or 8 times our input context window, right? Our maximum input tokens has effectively, output tokens have been like 4 times, right? As a result of this, we've also kind of like figured out on how to improve the instruction following with the structure outline, right? And one thing like I can kind of point out early on is that usually like JSON structures take a lot of extra tokens, right? You're gonna have to generate like the curly braces and the colons, right? And keep on doing this step by step over and over again, and then you can finally come to like an answer where maybe it would take like 30 to 50% more tokens, right? So let's keep on reading and continue on. So that could also be a potential thing. So it just depends on like the level of, when it comes to an application basis, right? At least if you're thinking of like implementing it like this paper onto your or the learnings of this paper from to your own like business or your app or whatever, right? You would have to think like, do I even have like an output that kind of stresses the boundaries of like what the LLM is? But also to another answer like question that comes up is the output structure or like the output answer really bad because of, due to structuring reasons, or is it bad due to like of because of like the it reaching the nearing the output length limitations, you know? So they studied the commonly like JSON, XML, YAML, and all the common like output structures that we generally work with, the structured data at least, like through this, is that what they just do is roughly equals to, first generate a regular answer such as the one above. We can just put a thing over here. I don't know if I'm over explaining. I feel like I'm kind of over explaining over here, right? So I example this and then go ahead and then use make the LLM generate a structured response from the standard natural language answer. So I kind of like this paper. I like how like directly just goes into like the quantifications and like, sorry, the statistics and like the graphs and everything, and like directly shows like the example. It's really easy to follow through. JSON-mode. Yeah, I think like even in my experience, like this has been like the worst case. So now that I'm looking at this, right, I would want to actually start thinking of like maybe using an NL2 format or like constraint decoding instead of like what's it called, format restricting instructions. Now I think I should also kind of explain what like the enforcing like the predefined token space, right? So let's look at constraint decoding methods, right? I'm not too sure on exactly what's that. So I'm just gonna confirm this with Claude. So my guess would be that this is just like a way of like the LLM is given the structure and it just fills in the answers for the structure itself. Let's just confirm. Yeah, so exactly right. So at each token positions, only token that keeps the output valid are considered. Invalid tokens get a probability of 0 mass start. So like um we have we have the what's it called, state machine, right? And wait, I'm sorry, I'm making sense of this as I'm reading as well. Yeah, so essentially you have like the template, right? And if the output of the LLM, right, like the one that he gets from its inference, it does not match the template, it's not a valid thing to follow. It completely does not even count into the like output, like it's not even considered valid, right? It just gets a probability of 0. But it's interesting to see how different models like work differently with, like, for example, FRI or like JSON-mode or like NL2 format, right? Like definitely like all of them, well, kind of depending on your use cases, right? All of them do generally just perform better with like natural language, but this is like, it kind of highlights the importance of like to actually look into the model that you're using, right? If you're using like Claude or like Gemini, each of them are gonna have like different characteristics, and you would want to kind of look at the benchmark results and like fine tune your prompts and fine tune your like output settings in order to like match that. It would kind of be one of the most basic things that you're doing, at least like tuning the model on its own, right? Now, yeah, the GSM, it's the mathematical issues, right? Last letter. Produces string concatenating symbolic reasoning. Okay, so this is going to literally like demonstrate like mathematical abilities. This is gonna be in order to like see the symbolic reasoning, right? Now, I don't know how important symbolic reasoning becomes if you're not doing like strictly like scientific or logic based stuff. But shuffled objects is infer the final state given from an initial state and a sequence of shuffling events. I think this is more like these last two are more related to each other than like the first one, where it's mathematical reasoning. It's just straight up reasoning stuff. Classification, interesting. I gotta take care of something. When designing an output, I used to keep the symbol key values. Oh. So essentially, what they do is like they give like a loser format restriction where like the LLM can kind of decide how to reply in like a JSON, and they do observe a significant improvement there, right? Now, the question is that it depends on the scale of like what you're implementing. If you're implementing something that's like highly, like the JSON is extremely complex, right? You wouldn't want to necessarily do it because each time you can produce like a different kind of JSON. And I mean, what comes to my brain immediately is like having the LLM produce like 15 or 20 JSONs based on like the average inputs, worst case, best cases, and like just make a parser that's robust to it. But it's like, what kind of failure, like fault tolerance can you like really tolerate, right? Yeah, this is actually a very good paper. I think it's definitely one of the best papers I've read. I don't think it's like super recent either. I think it's I don't know how old the paper is. Where do I go back to YHTML? How do I go back to the actual page? Back to abstract. 2024, which is not bad, but yeah, like I definitely think it's one of the more valid papers. So kind of figuring out the answer to this is like my intuition would tell me that it's best to use like the NL2 format way. Now, I don't know if there's a way to actually get like an output structured without like giving a strict JSON schema. It's the idea that I proposed earlier, which you could try and kind of see like what your like error rates are, and like what the standard deviation is. Like, is it really like on an average, how badly is it failing? How badly is the parser failing? If you combine that with like the second level of corrections that the LLM does, you might have like a half reliable system where it's like at least I would say like 90 to 95% ish like reliable. But yeah, I don't think it's possible, or I think it might be possible given like the complexity of a task to achieve even like a 99 or 100% like accuracy. It just depends on like how well the thing is prompted. Are you prompting according to like the specific model's like preferences, right?